Paladins rise up, or something. I don't know. Oath of the Crown Paladin. We're going to be talking about the multi-class potential when the Paladin part of the multi-class is the predominant class. So for example, if we win something like 5 Paladin, 7 Sorcerer, well, I would save that discussion for a Sorcerer video. So we're going to be looking at it when Oath of the Crown is the majority as far as multi-classing. Now, a couple things I want to bring up before we get too deep into this is when we're talking about multi-classing in Baldur's Gate 3, usually that sweet spot is somewhere in Act 2. So we're not just talking about being level 12 in multi-classing, because somebody brought up a good point in the video that I should have clarified a little bit, which is Arcane Archer. If you go 10 Arcane Archer and then 2 Druid for that Circle of Stars, those bonus actions, well, it's not that great giving up that level 11 fighter because of improved extra attack. So in that instance, no, I would not think actually multi-classing into Druid would actually be that beneficial. I would rather just go 11 into Fighter. So hopefully you guys understand what I'm talking about when it's like, we're not just talking about being level 12. It's really just like that Act 2 into Act 3. And obviously it depends on like what your party needs and where you're at. And so that's always up to you. I'm just kind of throwing out ideas and kind of showing you what these multi-classes can do. But that's enough preamble out of the way. We're going to start off with leveling Paladin to around level 7 or 6, kind of make my choices there. And then we will switch to basically covering all the classes, going down the list of classes, and then talking about their multi-class potential, and then throw them in some sort of like ranking tier list so you can kind of get an idea of like what synergizes and then what doesn't. So let's go ahead and head in game. All right, so in game here, obviously, yes, we're going with Paladin. We're picking Oath of the Crown. If you guys forget the action here, it is Righteous Clarity. This will effectively just give your proficiency bonus to your attack rolls for 10 turns. This gets stronger as the game goes on, so pretty good channel oath charge here. I like it a lot. And then when it comes to the ability points, just for this video, this is not how I would do things in a normal build. I just really want to make sure that everything is not going to be in the negative. Now, having Strength 16 and Charisma 16 that's a pretty decent way to set up a Paladin, but everything else in the middle here is a mess. But I'm going to be showing off my favorite versions of the multi-classing at the end, and they're all generally going to have like something like this, again, just to ensure that when you're multi-classing and say you do something that needs wisdom, we don't have a negative in wisdom. So just know, yes, this is not optimal. But we're going to move on to level 2 here now, and we're just going to zip on by. Now, when it comes to fighting styles, some of these are actually pretty good, and I'm looking at dueling when it comes to multi-classing with a rogue. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but just in general, I'm just going to be picking defense as far as the spells here. Nothing important. We're just going to keep on zipping by. Prepared spell, don't really need to worry about that. We did pick up Turn the Tide and Champion Challenge here. Now, for Oath of the Crown, we're going to be basing this class and this build essentially off of being more like a tank, not necessarily as a like frontline, like pure DPS brawler, if that makes any sense. So when it comes to our feats here, so let's go ahead and zoom to our feats for level 4. So it comes to our feats, usually my go-to here would be Great Weapon Master. And that's because we usually would be taking like a two-handed weapon. But for this subclass, if I want to play into like the class fantasy, I'm going to stay away from that. Now you do get, so if you have a sword and board, like a longsword and a shield, you do get actually the benefit of the first part about this feat, where you get a bonus action. You get to use it as a strike if you critical or you defeat your target. Even if you're not two-handing a weapon, you still get that feature actually. It's just the additional damage and then the attack rolls that will not affect you if you don't have a two-handed weapon. So this feat is actually still pretty good if you're going sword and board essentially. But just for this video, we're going to be avoiding that. We're just going to go with ability score improvement. And really, let's just focus on charisma. I feel like that is really actually important for Oath of the Crown. I think it gets a lot more synergy than the other paladins. So for Vengeance Paladin, you really just cast Vow of Enmity on yourself, and then you can just swing away. And really none of that is based off of your charisma unless you multi-class into like Warlock or something. But anyways, just for this video, we're just going to keep bumping up charisma. At level 5 here, we get some good things such as like extra attack, and because we're Oath of the Crown, we have Warding Bond and we pick up Spiritual Weapon. These are both really nice additions, especially Warding Bond here. Love that. And then at level 6 here, we get Aura Protection. This is really nice with our charisma being high. And then we're going to take one more level into Paladin, and that is because we get Divine Allegiance here. This is a really nice reaction ability. Again, kind of like builds out the full kit of us being a support, tank, bodyguard type of character. This really sets this Paladin apart from the other ones in this like little minor way. So that's the baseline of our Paladin. Let's switch screens and then we can talk about the other classes and the multi-class potential. So first up here is Barbarian. What does Barbarian bring to the table? Now I like my Paladins to have heavy armor. So the rage mechanic really doesn't gel with them. But that's not a deal breaker because as long as we just don't wear heavy armor, medium armor works pretty well. And I'm just spitballing here, like a fantasy wise, like a build that I can think of would be like a post Golden Age Guts, where he's like this Dark Knight, but has all this rage as well. So those two actually pair, I think can pair very thematically together as far as like this raging Dark Knight. So that's a really cool fantasy. So I think this can work, and I think that's where it's going to fit on the list, kind of similar to Fighter, where like, yeah, this can work. It doesn't necessarily get in the way of what Paladins are doing. It's just like a different flavor. And obviously with Giant here, I love Elemental Cleaver. So if you want to go like a 6/6 Paladin and get Elemental Cleaver here, kind of would be like a little bit of a different elemental weapon. Obviously not a concentration, and will add damage. It might be even a little bit better because this will give you the throne property as well. So you basically could throw it and it'll come back to you. So actually not a bad, I would say, synergy here. But I would, again, I think it all comes down to the raging and then how you can't have heavy armor with that. So I am going to be putting it in can work similar to Fighter. Yeah, I do like it there. Not exactly a lot of synergy, I would say, but bet your ass, yeah, definitely could make a Barbarian Paladin build and it would work completely fine. Next up, we have Bard. Bard synergizes extremely well with Paladins, and that's because they both share Charisma for their spells. A great choice as far as the Bard subclasses here. Knowledge of Swords, obviously, they get a lot of good, I would say, slashing flourishes, a defensive flourish actually for melee. Kind of fits in theme where it's an attack, but it'll give you 4 armor when you hit. So kind of making you tankier on the front line, and it does a little bit more damage as well. So not a bad pick there. I really like that synergy. Obviously, you also have like something like Mobile Flourish as well for your melee, so you can teleport to your target. Very cool. A lot of synergy here actually. But like before with Fighter, you kind of got to invest. I would say, again, I think it's level 5 or 6, level 5. Level 5 is how much you have to invest going into Bard. It does take a little bit while to get going, but very, very strong multi-class with Paladin. It always has been. And now with Oath of the Crown, yeah, still very, very strong. I will be showcasing this multi-class in the gameplay section. So let's just quickly throw Bard up there. Definitely going to be in the synergy. And just like the Fighter video, left or right does matter as far as like my preferences, but I think Bard is going to be sitting somewhere at the top easily. And next up we have Cleric. Now, I actually think Oath of the Crown, everything that you'd want to get from Cleric, you already get, because the heavy hitter here, or the one that really to talk about, is Spirit Guardian. So Clerics get it at level 5 down here, but Oath of the Crown gets it, I think, like at level 9. So multi-classing into Cleric is not as appealing as it used to be. Now, there's still some great things you get from Cleric, like with their channel divinity charges. So I'm not saying it's not worth it anymore, but before I would make probably a bigger case for multi-classing into Cleric. But now with Oath of the Crown specifically, I don't think it's as needed anymore. But this will be a more interesting topic when we get to Cleric and we talk about the Death Domain and then synergizing that with Paladin, because I think Death Domain and then doing something like an Oathbreaker multi-class, ooh, it just seems like a really fun theme overall. Yeah, I'm really going to look forward to making that subclass. That's going to be a lot of fun. But as it stands with Oath of the Crown, I don't think they need Cleric anymore. I'm going to put Cleric in can work just because something like Light Domain, it's a small dip just to get Radiance of Dawn. I think that's a fun kind of like Paladin-y, light radiant ability. So I think there is it can work essentially still. And obviously you need wisdom as well to make the Cleric spells really pop. So I'm going to keep it in can work. Now after Cleric, we have Druid. Now we all know what I'm going to be talking about. You're going to be talking about Circle Stars again? I am. And you know what? I think it works. I think it works really well. Now, I'm probably going to keep this on the lower end of synergizes, and that's because, again, the wisdom modifier. I don't think our wisdom is going to be super high, but I'm looking at the starry form of dragon. So our concentrations can't go lower than a 9. That's amazing for keeping our concentration spells up. And also Dazzling Breath, this is a great just bonus action. It's going to be basically a guaranteed hit. Now, how much damage it does is, you know, not the greatest, but it's something at least. You put on some of that Radiant Orb gear or something that goes with Reverberation, and this is a guaranteed way to like spread that with Radiant damage. So I am going to be putting this in the Synergizes, probably on the lower end though. Man, can we just pause a second? Man, Circle of the Stars has like completely taken over like my mindset for this, and that's just insane. I really like that stuff. I just like the class fantasy of this, of the Circle of the Stars, just in general. I love it. It's really just, yeah, it's really just captivated me. Let's move on. And next up we have Fighter. Fighter, I think Fighter synergizes with every class essentially, and that's because of Action Surge. Only 2 levels into it. Obviously, if you take one level in Fighter first, you get to wear every armor, you get to use every weapon, and then just another level, you get Action Surge. Now, when it comes to the subclasses, and I'd say mixing them with Paladin, Paladin has, it's actually really good to critical with Paladin. So taking like something like Champion, not a bad move. Eldritch Knight, not so much. I would just pick up something like Shield from Eldritch Knight, but I think Sorcerer, you can do that much. You would be able to do that with Sorcerer much easier than Eldritch Knight. And plus that's intelligence. Now, Eldritch Knight, no, I don't think it really works. The Booming Blade, again, Sorcerer. Okay, just let's move on. Battlemaster though. Battlemaster is really good for multiclassing with Paladin, just because it's like another resource to do damage with, because one of the issues with Paladin is obviously their spell slots, how limited they are, and how many divine smites they can get off. So this is kind of like a nice substitute. And then even if you don't want to use your battle maneuvers for like a little bit extra damage or like battlefield control, having just like pick riposte is like, it's a cool counter essentially. Kind of makes you like a little bit more deadly on the battlefield. And I think with Oath of the Crown here, because we have that taunt ability, you know, we're going to be wanting to draw in enemies to attack us. So having riposte is actually, I would think, pretty strong, pretty cool. And this is only 3 levels into all of these subclasses. Arcane Archer I'd stay away from, by the way. I didn't mention that, but I would stay away from that. But only 3 levels into that, not a bad multi-class there. I am gonna put Fighter up here. It's just, do I think it's not better than Bard? That's not what I'm debating in my head. It's like, what about these two? Oh, this is a tough pick for me. I like both of these classes and subclasses. I like both of them a lot. I think I'm gonna edge out Fighter just a little bit, only because with multiclassing with Druid here, I'm just looking at Circle of Stars. But with Fighter here, you got Champion and you got Battlemaster, so you have those 2 options. So maybe that adds a little bit more value to this list. But again, I'm splitting hairs between these 2, so it's not really that big of a deal. Let's move on. And next up we have Monk. Don't think this one synergizes a whole lot. Now you do get something, you can do some unarmed punches with your bonus actions. You got some okay, I would say passive, but not supposed to be wearing a lot of armor. So it's like a similar thing with Barbarian, where it's like, yeah, you're not wearing armor or using a shield. Well, we're going to be wearing armor and we're going to be using a shield. So some of the things with Monk is just not going to synergize with us. Now, something like a disenfranchised Paladin that is like drunk all the time, it sounds like that sounds like a really appealing build to make, that I'm going to make now eventually. That just sounds like a lot of fun. But when it comes to synergizing, yeah, I don't think it's going to be very high. Kind of like a don't mix. Yeah, I think I'm going to put it in don't mix. I just don't think there's a lot that Oath of the Crown wants from Monk, essentially, in a like multi-class situation. All right, and then next up is Ranger. This is an interesting one because of Swarmkeeper, Hunter, Gloomstalker. The themes just don't mix, essentially. I'm not getting that vibe. But when it comes to Ranger, and I would say their special subclass features, they don't actually need their wisdom unless you want to do like a status effect with Swarmkeeper. But Gloomstalker and Hunter, you don't need to worry about wisdom actually. So technically this can work. But then at level 2 you do pick up another fighting style. I'm looking at you, Dueling, because you can use a shield with Dueling and get that benefit right here. So that's not too bad. And then spell wise, you would pick up some utility like Enhanced Sleep and Longstrider if you don't have another party member that can do that. Like I said earlier, not these, like something like Colossus Slayer, that's just like another little bit of damage, and then Dread Ambusher. Obviously, this Gloomstalker kit here is amazing. It's just as far as like the class fantasy, I don't think that really works. At least that's not doing it for me. But as far as what you would get out of multiclassing into Ranger, I do think it's enough. It's just, yeah, really, I don't see a reason why you couldn't, or if somebody wanted to do this, I couldn't say, hey, that's a bad multiclass. No, it's actually, it can be actually pretty good multiclass because of this Dread Ambusher here, getting that extra attack in like the beginning of every like encounter. That's pretty good. Hell, even if you want to take up, you know, an animal companion here. Now these animals, I don't think they get very good until level 11 Beastmaster. You kind of really need to invest into for it to really pop off. But as far as multiclass, maybe not so much. Maybe for like some RP flair and taking one of these companions, that could work, sure. But as far as like actual like synergy, yeah, Hunter and Gloomstalker, and then even Swarmkeeper, I think would work pretty well, because you're just adding things to your normal attacks. And as Paladins, our normal attacks we're just smiting. Ranger. You actually surprised me a little bit. I think I am going to put it up here, and maybe even above Druid, because, you know, Druid, it gives you a little bit of damage with your bonus action, and obviously helps your Constitution saving throws. That's kind of the main benefit that we're getting from Druid, and specifically, you know, Circle of Stars. But I feel like Ranger helps out our main attacks, which can be definitely more effective. And, you know, you do get some other utilities with it. The only reason I sound so conflicted about Ranger here is just like, again, the class fantasies don't really mesh for me as far as like an RP. And I feel like I've been saying RP a lot, and some people, I don't know, might not know it's roleplay. So those, they just don't really like mesh for me as far as like a role play. But I can't deny what just being, you know, picking Ranger for a martial character like can do for it. So I'm gonna keep it in the synergy section. That one surprises me. Huh. Nomad, you're fucking crazy. You know that? You're just picking up all these classes and just saying, hey, they work together. Well, you know what? They kind of are. They kind of are working together here. Now, Rogue, I am just looking at you, Swashbuckler, and I gotta say, I like it. I like it a lot. Now, why is that? Well, it's because Swashbuckler actually uses some charisma, and then at level 4, this is as far as you need to go with Swashbuckler here, just to get basically your own way to disarm. You have an ability to blind, and then you can use Vicious Mockery. And then obviously, if we look back at level 3 here, we get Rakish Audacity, so we get our sneak attack. This actually works pretty well, actually. I like this synergy a lot. Let's go back to the list real quick, because this placement might surprise some people. It's going to surprise me a little bit. I'm actually going to put this Rogue with Swashbuckler pretty high up, maybe somewhere between Fighter and Bard. And that's because with dipping 4 levels into Swashbuckler, we're going to have the ability to disarm people with our bonus action. That's really strong. That's really good. And on top of that, as long as we fit the parameters of Rakish sneak attack, that's going to be even more damage. None of this costs like a class or a subclass resource. It's just using an action or a bonus action. Now the trade-off for that is obviously we're not going to be picking up any additional spell slots. So that can be kind of rough. That's why I think I'm going to keep it here, but also Fighter, you don't pick up any additional spell slots either. So you're going to be pretty starved as far as wanting to do like Divine Smites if you take either one of these two. But the trade-off here is like with Fighter, you get more, like you get battle maneuvers in the case of Battlemaster, and then Rogue with Swashbuckler is obviously what we just talked about, where you get that bonus action to disarm somebody. You can throw pocket sand in their face. I just love the pocket sand. It's a great meme.
Briefcase.
What the hell are you doing?
Give it. Pocket sand.
I think I'm going to keep it here, a little bit above Ranger, and I'm definitely going to show off this in the gameplay section. So next up we have Sorcerer. Do I even need to click on Sorcerer? No. Sorcerer is right up there at the top, probably between these two, probably somewhere up here. Sorcerer is really good for multi-classing with Paladins, and it still is with Oath of the Crown. Hey puppy, you come and say hi? Okay. No. But yeah, when it comes to Oath of the Crown, Sorcerer here obviously synergizes really well. Gonna give you more spell slots, that ability to exchange sorcery points for spell slots or vice versa. So really a lot of strong synergy here. You're gonna see basically builds for me that utilize this subclass and then Sorcerer as well. And actually what surprised me about this is actually Shadow Magic, I think would be my choice if I had to pick a subclass for Sorcerer to multi-class with. And that's because they have the subclass feature where if they hit 0 hit points, they come back with 1. So that's some like pretty good survivability, I would say. But I don't know if I'd go so deep into it for like the Hound, although we are a dog channel here. So that could work. Anywho, let's move on. So next up is Warlock. Do we even need to click on Warlock? Just freaking, dude, Hexblade, just doing 1 level in Hexblade is extremely beneficial to all Paladins. You bind your weapon, it goes off your charisma modifier, you then do Hexblade's Curse, or you're able to apply Hexblade's Curse just doing your normal attacks. Really, really strong. And something else I love is at level 5 here, they get Elemental Weapon. Usually Paladins have to go pretty deep into Paladin to get Elemental Weapon. But nope, it's just multiclass into Hexblade here and you get it at level 5. As well as, okay, so let's talk about, not an elephant in the room, but kind of the bug, or I say the synergy with this. And I'll show this off in the gameplay section. This would definitely be another one I pick. But just letting you guys know ahead of time, when you picked Pact of the Blade and you go to Deepen Pack, which you get at level 5, if we're level Paladin level 5, we get our regular extra attack. Well, these two are not synergizing like they do in Tactician and lower difficulties in the live version of Baldur's Gate 3. In the live version of the game, if you take Deepen Pack and Pact of the Blade, you will get 3 attacks like an improved extra attack, kind of like how fighters get at level 11. Now, currently in this patch, in this build and stress test, that synergy is not working. This is probably all like stress test just things, so I wouldn't be too worried about them fixing that. Now in honor mode, this synergy doesn't work and they purposely disabled that. But just know right now in this video, it's not going to work, and you'll see that in the gameplay section. But yeah, Warlock here, insane synergy. I'm gonna put it in my top pick. That's a no-brainer. And do I really even want to look at Wizard? For you Wizard players out there, I'll look at Wizard. Now, would Wizard actually synergize as far as blade singing? I think you could make a case for yes. And when it comes to blade song here, I know some of you might be thinking, okay, well, your blade song damage charge, is that going to work with Divine Smite? No, it's not. It only works with spells that are not weapon attacks. So Divine Strike is a weapon attack where you also use a spell slot. Not going to work for this. And since like Divine Smite is still kind of like the bread and butter of Paladin, I don't think there's huge synergy, but I do think this can work still. And if you are going to go into Wizard as a Oath of the Crowns, you would need probably one of those items that bump up your intelligence, like 17 or something like that. But even if you don't want to bump up your intelligence, you just would need to pick a bunch of like utility spells that don't depend on your spell modifier. And I do think that it can work. I don't think it's bad. And being Wizard, obviously you can generate some more spell slots for yourself. You're going to get more spell slots just because you're a Wizard. Obviously there's the scrolling aspect as well. So Wizard, yeah, Wizard can definitely work. I would maybe even bump it above Cleric. I don't know. These two are kind of a toss-up because like divinity charges are pretty good. They come back on a short rest, but Wizard obviously is going to help you out with your spell slots a little bit more. Both of these modifiers, spell modifiers, well, Wisdom I would argue is a more important stat to bump up than Intelligence, just because, again, enemies, when they hit you, a lot of things are Wisdom saves in this game. So, I don't know, these two you could flip-flop, but I'm pretty happy with this list. Let me give it one more look over before we go to the gameplay section. Man, seeing Ranger up there, yeah, kind of throws me through a loop. Yeah, pretty happy with this. Let's go to the gameplay section. All right, here we are in the gameplay section, and let's take a look at equipment real quick. Same deal as the fighter video. This is all just very basic bitch stuff that you're going to get as soon as like the Druid's Grove or Act 1. This is not a showcase of gear. You're just going to be seeing these classes and multi-classing in raw fashion. Now there's an exception to this, and that is Leviathan's Wrath here. And before we talk about that, let's make myself a little bit smaller. That's better, a little bit of a cleaner look. And the reason we're taking this longsword is because it's a finesse weapon. And this guy here, let's start with him. He is going to be our rogue multi-class. So we went with 8 paladin, 4 rogue, and we bumped up our dexterity a lot because we don't need strength if we have a finesse weapon, because this will take our dexterity modifier. So, and that's also going to help out our initiative a bunch. So still really high charisma as well. So that's what's going on with this guy here. Next up, we have this is our Druid multi-class. Just a very pure paladin. And because we're so high as a paladin, we get spirit guardians. So this is actually going to be a pretty strong, I would say, synergy between spirit guardians and then this starry form dragon so that our Spirit Guardians will essentially stay up, because we're going to be drawing in aggro with our champion challenge. And then our Drow over here, obviously I think it just fits him best to be that Warlock. We're going to use our Bind X weapon, so you can see that that happened. But yeah, a lot of great things going on here. Notably, the Booming Blade. This Booming Blade is so damn good. This basically is better than our level 1 Divine Smite here. Way better, actually, because it does that additional damage if they move. So maybe even better than our level 2. So going Warlock will actually save you a lot of spell slots, because you don't need to Divine Smite unless you really need to like kill something. But as far as a concentration spell, I think we're just going to go going with Elemental Weapon here. Might as well add to the thunder damage. Actually, let's make sure we can kind of see the different damage types. We'll just pick Lightning instead. So get that guy all ready and prepped. Is everybody else kind of ready to be prepped? And real quick before we get into the fight, obviously all these breakdowns as far as, you know, these class splits, those are really all going to come down to what you want to do with your party. I'm not claiming any of this is like super optimized. Again, I'm just kind of showing you, guiding you through what these multi-classes can look like, and then picking out my favorite 4, at least the 4 that I want to showcase. We are missing Sorcerer, but I think I'm going to be making enough builds in the future with Sorcerer as the multi-class that don't really need to worry about it here. You're just going to pick up more things that make the Paladin so much better, but not so many like unique things, if that makes any sense. Whereas like these multi-classes all come with like a very like unique flair. Now, if you did pick Sorcerer, you actually would be able to pick up something like Booming Blade as well. So I'm not downplaying Sorcerer. It's really insanely strong. But anyways, let's get into the fight and show off what these multi-classes can do. These wolves in this fight have alert, so they're always probably going to get the turn order ahead of, I would say, these heavier martial classes. So we have our Warlock variant here. I think we'll just Misty Step him all the way over here and just have him wipe out this side of the room. Hi, puppy. Oh, we gotta speed this up. Puppy wants to go on a walk. And she's gone. Okay, well, let's just start wiping out this side of the room with Booming Blade. Booming Blade, obviously very strong. We also can add our Divine Smites to Booming Blade. So this is what I was kind of talking about earlier, where you don't have to spend all your Divine Smites with you when you take the Warlock variant. You can just Booming Blade to your heart's content. But if you really need to kill something, yeah, you can just set Divine Smites. Here, I'll show you real quick. With the reactions, and just make sure they're all ticked as ask and turn them on. And then after every regular attack, yeah, you can just add Divine Smite to them. Now, if you're playing in a party, that might get annoying for that to come up all the time. But just know, yeah, that's going to be a crap ton of damage. And then you notice we only attacked twice, and we are a 7 Paladin, 5 Warlock. Our weapon is bound, and we are on Tactician and is not giving us that third proc. Kind of a bummer on the stress test. It makes me a little bit nervous, but I think it'll be fixed for live version. Let's move on to our Rogue variant. Now, our Rogue variant, we can get in there and let's throw some pocket sand. So we can do this with our bonus action. And same thing with our Warlock really quick. Just quickly went into the menu to make sure I'm turning on all my Divine Smites. And yep, that looks all good. And because we hit him with our sand toss there, we got advantage and we can use our rakish attack here. And yep, we have advantage. So this should, first off, do a lot of damage. That's pretty decent damage. I think we probably rolled pretty low. Actually, not too low. It just hurts to see not having Great Weapon Master on because of that just 10 raw damage. But keep in mind, our gear is not great. So these numbers are obviously going to be way better at this part of the game if you are just geared correctly. But we can go ahead and add our Divine Smite to it as well. A lot of damage there. And we just go ahead and hit him again. We keep our advantage and just hit him with Divine Smite again. So pretty strong, I would say, synergy there. Obviously, when we're geared out appropriately, because you can just always use your bonus action to set up just doing more damage. And next up, we have our Druid. I should have cast Long Strider and maybe Enhanced Sleep on everybody to help out their mobility, but oh well. And I think the strong pairing here will be to cast Spirit Guardians and then put that Radiant basically aura around us, or just Spirit Guardians, I don't know why I need to call it that, and then use Champion Challenge, so everybody's going to want to attack me. It's just a beautiful subclass ability there when you get all these challenges off and they have to attack you. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Next turn, we're obviously going to be popping off a little bit more because we already have our Spirit Guardians up, so we can start Divine Smiting, and then also we can use our Dazzling Breath, so a little bit better next turn. So let's go ahead and have them all go. They're all probably going to run to our Spirit Guardians. And because we have, we're in Starry Form Dragon, our concentration is going to have a really strong chance of staying up on top of Aura of Protection. So a lot of good synergy there, I would say. And it looks like our Warlock variant got hit, and we can use one of our spells. It says Shield. I don't think I'm going to use that reaction, but I do like having Shield as a reaction. I think it fits the theme pretty well. But we also have Hellish Rebuke as well. Very good reaction there too. But I don't think we need to do either one of those right now. Now we have our Bard variant here. We're probably just going to use something like Defensive Flourish, or actually let's show off Mobile. So we can run up there in our mobile form and we'll end up knocking them away. Nah, I don't want to use that. And so since we use Mobile Flourish, we can go ahead and teleport to like the corpse area of the enemy. So even if you do kill them, you get that mobility still. And then we could just go ahead and use Defensive Flourish. Let me turn on Divine Smites for this as well. Well, gee, Mr. Nomad, you probably should have done this in the prep video before wasting our time here. Yeah, I know. All right, so we'll use Defensive Flourish here. We'll just use Luck of the Far Realms. We got a great hit. We'll just juice up our Divine Smite there. Really strong damage. And we also have our bonus action. What do we want to do with that? We could go ahead and use Righteous Clarity, even though despite everybody having really bad gear as far as like weapons, they all have pretty good hit chances. I'm not sure we even need to use that. I think we'll just use it. I think we'll just summon a spiritual weapon instead and just put it somewhere. I don't know who's gonna have the most trouble killing somebody. Maybe go help out our Warlock over there. Sure, let's go put that over there. A lot of spells when it comes to the Bard to work with, so that is definitely a strong advantage. And spirit weapons, not the greatest, but you know, they're a little bit of damage and it's just like a bonk. So I think they're cool. Oh god, they all just exploded in righteous fire. Love Spirit Guardians, such a good spell. Back to our Warlock variant here. We can put Hexblade's Curse on somebody, but this will apply all by itself, or there's a chance to. But we'll just go ahead and finish off that werewolf there. We'll just take out this rat. The Warlock's just like on cleanup duty. And another great thing here that I guess I didn't mention is the fact that I am healing myself as well every time I kill a target. So really strong frontliner here. I love this combination in general. But if you pair this with something like the Chaos Sword from if you follow the murder quest in Act 3, oh my god, you're going to be healing yourself so much and very just completely reliant on yourself as far as doing everything. Going to be a very strong combination there as well. This is definitely why I put Warlock in the top spot for this multi-class. Is Hexblade a little bit busted? You could argue, potentially. I'm thinking what to do with our bonus action. I think I'll just use Hexblade first and put it on the other werewolf over there. I don't want to break my elemental weapon combination with something like Hex, although this would be a great little bit of damage as well. But honestly, Hex on its own just is really good. Might be even a little bit better in some circumstances. Anywho, their turn's done. Let's go back to our Druid over here. So we could actually have them... I want to get an angle where I can basically Dazzling Breath both of them. That's okay. Got plenty of survivability. We're going to be saving our concentrations because of, again, the starry form here. Let's go ahead and hit him with the breath. Yeah, it's just such a cool animation. Not a lot of damage, admittedly, but just cool in general. And he's actually immune to slashing damage. I was just kind of just swinging away and not paying attention, so that wasn't the best play. Let's be honest, Mr. Nomad, we're not really here for your gameplay. I know. It's for my personality, right, guys? Fucking Miz, come on, guys. You make me look bad in front of everybody. Now, something that you obviously might be doing with your Oath of the Crown Paladin is having like a warding bond target, which obviously we don't have here. Let's throw some more pocket sand. Ah, yeah, and just cleaned up that area real quick. Let's go over to our Hexblade variant here, and we're just gonna swing and we're gonna hit really hard. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then our Druid version here, we have plenty of guiding bolts we can throw. Now they're going to be based off of our wisdom, but there we got the strike. Nice. Firm handshakes all around. But that's the video. That's kind of like my impressions, my guide on multiclassing when it comes to Oath of the Crown. And remember, this is when you have the Paladin being majority of the levels. Let me know what multiclassing you're going to be doing with your Paladin and like what synergies you're going to be looking for. I've got no problem if you're like, hey, can you check out actually this combination and how this plays, or like, does this synergy work? I have no problem then going back in game and kind of doing a test myself and then basically replying with an answer. So if you do have any questions like that, feel free to comment below and I will get back to you hopefully with an answer. But yeah, definitely I'll be doing another one of these later this week. It's just I don't know which subclass or new subclass I'm going to do yet, but look forward to that. And then yeah, guys, I will see you then. Peace and take care.